Welcome to the Inside Canada webinar. This webinar is brought to you exclusively by the Chopras, one of India's largest and most successful global education companies. Our Inside Canada webinar today will cover a number of key areas. Overview of Canada's education system, current market dynamics, emerging sectors and skill shortages, the scale of arising opportunities, and pathways and avenues for students to capitalize on the growing opportunity base. The webinar will also consider why international students choose Canada as one of their preferred study destinations. Our keynote speaker...
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
...of the Chopras. Largest and most successful global education companies. Our Inside Canada webinar today will cover a number of key areas. Overview of Canada's education system, current market dynamics, emerging sectors and skill shortages, the scale of arising opportunities, and pathways and avenues for students to capitalize on the growing opportunity base. This webinar will also consider why international students choose Canada as one of their preferred study destinations. Our keynote speaker this afternoon is Mrs. Natasha Chopra, Managing Director of the Chopras. Mrs. Chopra was educated in the United Kingdom and has lived and worked most of her life overseas. As Managing Director of the Chopras, one of India's largest and most successful global education companies, Mrs. Chopra has dedicated the past 20 years to shaping the lives and careers of students seeking global education opportunities. Alongside Mrs. Chopra today, we have two professionals with significant experience in the Canadian market, Ms. Monica Singh and Mr. Bhaskar Kaushal. The structure of the webinar today will be in the format of a presentation. Questions will be taken throughout the webinar, so please do take the opportunity to post these via the chat facility as we go along. We will attempt to answer as many of the questions that come in as possible, but guarantee that any unanswered questions today will get a response by email in the coming few days. We hope that you enjoy today's webinar, and I will now hand over to Mrs. Chopra to officially begin today's event.
Well, a very good afternoon to all the listeners, and welcome to this webinar on Canada. And when we think of Canada, what do we think of? Well, it certainly brings up images of maple, the maple trees, and lots of maple syrup on the pancakes. And of course, we Indians love the gold, and of course the 24-karat gold coins that we all love. Not the biscuits, just the coins. Canada has such a fantastic education system, and no wonder it's such a popular destination for education and, of course, opportunities for work. Now, you know, one of the things that I certainly find, and I'm sure many others do, is that Canada is also consistently seen as a place where you can migrate. And students, when they come in, one of their first questions tends to be, well, what do I do? I want to migrate. The first thing I would like to say at the outset of this seminar is that whenever you're thinking of education, you should be focused on education and its outcomes. The migration is the outcome and not necessarily the purpose that you should be going for. We want you to go to Canada, those who are eligible, go there, educate yourself, build your profile so that you are in demand, you're working in the right sectors, and the migration will follow. What you should not be doing is going there to study and then just looking at maybe becoming a taxi driver, because that's not what this is about. Now, I'm not undermining taxi drivers. I mean, that's what you want to be. But for those who want to go and invest their money and time and hard-earned money of their parents, then I think it's a good idea to be thinking of your careers that you can build in that country. and the economy has a great deal to offer you. Now, the first thing I wanted to say to you is about Canada. What do we think about Canada? As a parent, safety is a prime concern. It's a very safe country. It's a very friendly country, and it has such good education systems, institutions, and of course it's multicultural, where you have people from over 100 nationalities coming to Canada to study. And some of the countries that do come in large numbers, of course, are the American citizens. Can you believe it that they also go to Canada? We also have Chinese, South Koreans, the Southeast Asian countries, other Southeast Asian countries, and Europeans, and of course Indians. In fact, Indians are number 6 in their list. The interesting thing is that Canada itself is so focused on education that of all the OECD countries, they spend one of the highest amounts on their students. Something like $21,000 are spent on every student every year. What an investment. Compare that to what we spend here in India. Now, like other countries, you know, we have the Russell Group in the UK, we have the Group of 8 in Australia. Canada has what's called the U15. And the U15 are universities that you would all have heard of, like Toronto, University of Waterloo, McGill, British Columbia, Dalhousie, and Alberta. Now these are the universities, and Canada also has a huge number of community colleges that are very well recognized and produce students who are able to get jobs. And the other interesting aspect is that unlike many other countries, the Ministry of Human Resource and the Ministry of Labor actually work together to work out the programs which can then produce jobs. So therefore, if a community college is running a program, the chances are, in fact, very good chances are that the jobs are available in those areas. And if they're not running a program and you're interested, that should give you a very good indication that maybe the jobs aren't available. This is because the Canadians are really well recognized in terms of being able to offer their students who study at these colleges to be able to find employment. And of course, they're looking to attract students from overseas, and they're very conscious of this aspect. Now, what should you study in Canada? Well, really speaking, you can cover anything and everything. And the ranges are from business and finance and economics to energy, whether it's renewable or new energy, clean energy, everything to do with energy. Aerospace is a huge sector in demand, and information technology, computer science, engineering, every kind of engineering, whether it's mechanical, whether it's automotive, whether it's civil. And did you know that one of the largest exports for Canada are actually its mining, its resources and mining and so on, are also a very popular form of energy. Down. Telecommunications is a huge area. In fact, programs like wireless and technologies is a very, very popular program to study there. We've talked about information technology. So really speaking, anything to do with all the areas that we've spoken about. Environmental sciences, because as you can appreciate, Canada is very, very focused on a clean environment, a healthy environment, and health sciences and medicine are also another area. Now, why do we have all these areas that we can study and find employment for? The thing is that Canada has an aging population like many of the OECD countries, and they are trying, the government is very conscious of this. They've looked at their economy, they've looked at their data, they've looked at their figures, and they know that they need to attract a large number of overseas international students who can come and study, invest in their economy, and at the same time have the possibility of then being able to migrate. So therefore the country is open to these aspects. Do we have any questions on the quality of education or popular areas of study? Okay, yes. The first question we have is, what new occupations and industries are emerging in Canada? Well, they have a list called the NOC, which is the National Occupational Classification System, and this describes all the different types of jobs and occupations and the skills that are required by the Canadian economy. And we've talked about some of these before, but these are areas like agri-food, aerospace, even areas like forestry, information communications technology, anything in life sciences, mining, and the one that I did overlook in mentioning was about entertainment. A lot of the animation movies are made in Canada. In fact, Canada has a lot of state-of-the-art technologies and are one of the best in this area. Now, why study in Canada? What is so special about studying in Canada? I think this question is best answered by really, given our experience, that whether it's a Canadian degree, a diploma, or a certificate, these are all globally recognized as being equivalent to those obtained from the United States or Commonwealth countries. So it doesn't matter what qualification you do, their qualifications are highly regarded. Apart from that, the quality of education and living standards in Canada are among the highest in the world. Canada is a bilingual country. Now, it's not just Quebec that's bilingual. In fact, in all of Canada, the other language that they do speak is French, although in Quebec it's compulsory. And a lot of research, the research is one of its key components of a Canadian post-secondary education, and therefore this gives students ample opportunities to find their calling in life, whatever it is. As students, you can go for the PG diploma, which is straight after your graduation. You can then go on to do masters if you wish. Then they also have the advanced diploma, bachelor's, postgraduates, and also PhDs. In fact, I'm sorry, the diploma and the advanced diploma are at the undergraduate level. Questions, where are they? So, emerging sectors in Canada, some of these will be the same, but as it's one of the wealthiest countries in the world, it has quite a diverse portfolio and competencies in the areas of including things like bioproducts and biopharmaceutical products, chemicals and plastics, software and wireless technologies, and the other areas we've already spoken about, the finance and business consulting, banking and insurance, all very, very popular area. In fact, almost anything actually is an area that you can study, but you need to look at the specialties. For example, people think automobile and automotive are the same. They're not. You need to look at the differences and find out the areas that you can translate to for your education over there. Let's look at the question. Now, being one of the biggest natural resources centers, it attracts a huge investment in the area. And recently, in fact, they've got something like 600 projects in these areas, translating to billions of dollars. I don't have the exact amount right now. So there are over 600 major Canadian resource projects planned over the next 10 years, and this represents an investment of something like $650 billion, and $150 billion of this is being invested currently, and they're under construction. Canada also, not surprisingly, has immensely increased its solar and wind power energy, and it's expanding its research and application footprint on other energies, areas like marine, bioenergy, hydropower, and solar thermal. Now, while all countries are looking at these areas, Canada actually is way ahead, and others are following. So despite Canada's well-equipped education system, the demand, as I mentioned earlier, is basically because of the shifting demographics and the aging population, which has opened up opportunities to the international labor market. And we've talked about all the areas in demand. So I hope that makes it very clear why it's a land of opportunities. For everyone who is looking at a good education, wants to make a career for themselves, there are many professions available. A lot of them will require you to go there and perhaps upgrade your skills and memberships to professional bodies. If, for example, you are a radiographer and you've done radiography, you can go there, do another program, upgrade your skills, become a member. And in fact, paramedics is also another area in the health sector where there is an immense demand. In fact, Canada has one of the highest number of hospitals per population member, which is lacking in many other countries. Now, I wanted to tell you another very interesting fact. Canada has a population of something like 34 million, and you know the huge land size. So how does one look at the comparative population density? Well, it's been worked out at the population density per kilometer. So Canada is 3 people per square kilometer. What do you think it is for India? 10 times, 20, 100 times? Well, the magic figure is 383. So now you can see why we are so overpopulated. I think it's about time some of our people also looked at going overseas and getting to study there and making opportunities for themselves there. Well, we have some questions. Let me pick up some of well, some of them I've answered. I'm asked by Anish Kumar here how the job opportunities in Canada. Well, if you've been listening to this webinar, Anish, you would have heard that the job opportunities in many sectors and a wide area of sectors are immense. It's a question of what you want to do and how you can work your way towards that. And how to talk to a counselor, Shiva? Well, all you have to do is to walk in to one of our offices across the country, and we have a team of expert counselors, and they will be able to help you with all your queries, right from career counseling advice to applications, shortlisting of which universities, and so on. So find out, go to the website, the Chopras, and you will find all the details of the offices across the country. Now I have a question here. What is the scope for PhD in electrical engineering and future jobs? As we said, Canada is very much a research-oriented country. Its universities are in the top 100 in ranking, and that is based on research. So if you're looking at a PhD, there are also a fair amount of scholarships available. You need to make your proposal and complete your education. And future jobs, well, if you're a PhD in electrical engineering, the possibilities are immense. The world is your oyster, not just in Canada, but anywhere else in the world. Okay, I have a question here. Do I need a GRE score for doing a diploma at a college or a university? No, you don't, Prashant. It is your educational academic qualifications that will qualify you, as the case may be. What bands required to go for computer-related diploma program? By bands, I presume you're talking about the IELTS band and not a jazz band. So if that's the case, if you're an undergraduate, then you're looking at 6, and if you're a postgraduate, 6.5. I have a question here. What about salary in healthcare? Well, healthcare is very much a sector which has a huge demand and huge potential, and I will just give you that that figure. The salary range, now this is a range only. It depends what area of health you're talking about. But if you're a healthcare manager, it can be about $87,000, which is Canadian dollars. Does that answer your question? Gaurav, I hope that answers your question. Is there a fair scope in the hospitality and tourism industry in Canada? Huge amount of tourism takes place in Canada, and a lot of colleges are offering you diploma programs both in hospitality and tourism. And while it doesn't come under the, it may not be in the skills shortage area. Okay, I'm sorry, it is in the skills shortage area, and it comes under the business aspect. You can certainly find a lot of opportunities for yourself. The next question is there any difference in outcome in case of students studying in colleges or compared to universities? Well, the colleges primarily, while they do, both will do undergrad and postgrad, but a lot of universities will either do, sorry, let me rephrase that. There are over 100 universities in Canada, but not all universities do undergrad and postgrad, and there are only about 25 that do one or the other. So I'm not sure which program you're looking at, but generally colleges are geared up for the job market. So if you're studying a program at a college, they are preparing you with practical elements to prepare you for the jobs, because a lot of the colleges have tie-ups with the employers as well, and many of them offer internships. The universities are more academic in nature, and they're more research oriented, and they prepare you for a master's program. So while they will do both, of course, like universities anywhere in the world, you are looking at being employed. It depends on the kind of jobs that you're going for. If you have not studied in Canada, you go from here, from India, you're better off going to a college for a PG diploma if you want to be prepared for the job market in a year's time. So it depends on the outcome that you're looking for. Obviously, going to a prestigious university is of huge benefit and a huge investment for you, and not just in Canada, but across the world. Okay, let's go on to some employment information. We'll come back to more questions later. So one of the most educated workforces in all OECDs, actually Canada, and it's a 66. In 2013, 66% of adults aged between 25 to 64 in Ontario had a post-secondary educated had an educated population. That's a very high number. And in terms of dollars, it says that $295 million is the amount that the government is investing in youth jobs and strategy over the next 2 years. And of these, 10,706 jobs have already been prepared for the youth, and this is because of the youth job strategy, as it's called. And in 2013, 95,700 new jobs were created in Ontario alone. Now, Ontario is one of the 10 provinces in Canada. It is one of the most populated ones compared to the others. And there are jobs available in all provinces, but a lot of our students prefer to go to Ontario because they want to make it safer. There is you should also be aware that there is the PNP program, which, and these provinces, say for example Alberta and New Brunswick, are more flexible when it comes to being able to apply for PR, and Saskatchewan. we have a question here, and they want to know the average salaries by sector. Well, the salaries by sector, a lot of them range between, I mean, let's say an average range of about 40,000 to 53,000, and I'll go from the top. Careers in architecture and engineering, you can start off with, say, approximately $53,000 after your undergraduate or your PG diploma. Health, so architecture, health, mathematics, all are in the $53,000 range. Then you come to business and management, which is slightly lower at about $48,000. Then you have education and transportation services, which come at about $45,000. When you look at other areas like agriculture, natural resources, and conservation, it's about $40,000, and social behavior, sciences and law, about $42,000. Now, these are just indications. Please don't take them as gospel, because these are averages, and averages, you know, vary a great deal from one end of the spectrum to another. But this gives you a fair amount of, a fair guideline. And what you also have to look at is the living cost in Canada. And now for students, it's worked out at about $10,000 a year. When you start working and you're living, it'll be a little bit more, but it's a much lower cost than many other countries. So therefore, even though the salaries don't seem necessarily very high, you have to equate it with the cost of living. And therefore, I think Canada has one of the highest standards of living. Okay, we have some focused questions here. And the first one is, can I work both on campus and off campus? And do I need a work permit? Well, the students can work on campus at school without a work permit, as long as they have a valid visa. And they can also work off campus if they have a work permit. And to apply for a work permit, it's very easy. It's a very simple process, and it takes no more than 2 days to get a work permit. And you can also take your spouse, and the spouse can also apply for a work permit. And if they get it, then they can also work. And they can work full time, which is 40 hours. Although I don't think many Canadians work 40 hours. They generally work more like 35 hours, and that's full time work. So you can see you don't have to work as hard over there as you do in India. The next question is, what is the minimum wage I could expect? Nishant, well, the answer to that is that as per the Ministry of Labour, it's $11 per hour. And that's a fairly good part-time rate that you're going to be getting. And of course, the magic question is all about the stay-back options. If you go and study there for 1 year, you get a 1-year post-study work permit. If you do a 2-year program, you can get a 3-year post-study work permit. And the other way of doing it, and our counselors can guide you, is perhaps to come in and work out your career plans. And sometimes it's better to do a 1-year program and then go for another 1-year program. That also is a possibility. The main thing you do have to look at is that you're building up your profile and working in areas where it's going to build your career. So even if you do a part-time job, ideally you should be looking at areas which will help you develop your careers. The question here says, tell me more about the Canadian Experience class. So this is how to apply for the permanent resident status through the CEC. You need at least 1 year of full-time experience or the equivalent part-time as a skilled worker in Canada. And then you can, if you're there for 3 years, if you study for 2 years and have 1 year work experience, you can get the 3-year, you can apply for PR. So what are the highest paid jobs in Canada? Let's have a look at these. Like everywhere else, data security analysts are in the range of $80,000. Petroleum engineers, $85,000. Website developers and user experience designers, I mean, again, really good salaries of about $80,000. Mobile application developers, $72,000. Financial controllers, $70,000. Lawyers, $60,000. And then you have the range of accountants and nurses, in fact, all very well paid, about $55,000. The highest actually are the dentists. So if any of you love looking at teeth and and are looking at are a dentist and want to go even for a short-term program like dental technologies, you know, this is certainly a profession. I'm sorry, not dental technologies, dental hygiene. And you can be a dental assistant. In fact, I'm going to pass this question to one of my colleagues, and she will be able to answer this in more in depth.
Okay, hi, Monica side. Many of you have talked to, and when we're looking at dentists, there are few courses which are available at diploma level, like dental assistant and dental hygiene. So these are highly in demand in Canada, and definitely they will range in the same salary that has been given here. So first, get into dental hygiene, dental assistant program. Get registration done, and then you can do your DS over there. And even dental hygienists and dental assistants are equally highly paid in Canada. So yes, definitely, it's a worth going program for.
Thank you for that, Monica. Appreciate it. I'm sure that answered a lot of questions that some of our listeners had. Okay, well, let's look at the tuition fee and living costs. Canada is one of the least expensive in terms of its education, and very good value in terms of the quality of education that you're getting. Most undergraduate degrees are in the range of 15,000 Canadian dollars, and the postgraduate will be anything. If you're in community colleges, maybe 10,000. And otherwise, in fact, these are community college tuition fees, not universities. Universities will be higher. So universities will be, say, 25,000 Canadian dollars, and community colleges are 15,000. At the postgraduate level, anything from 10,000 to 16,000 Canadian dollars. And in terms of accommodation, you can pay anything from about 300 to 700 Canadian dollars a month, which is really not bad at all. While I know a number of people share, so the shared accommodation will obviously be less expensive. You also have the homestay option, where you can stay with a family, and this is another area where a lot of our people who go do seem to have family there and end up staying with them. And I think it's also a good idea to stay separately, because even though you are spending some money, it gives you a different kind of experience to staying at home with a relative. The fact that your parents are sending you overseas to study is also to ensure that you develop a sense of independence and are able to manage things on your own, be a problem solver, and that experience you will miss out on. If you look at the dormitory kind of accommodation, and that's available in the universities only, then you're looking at anything from $3,000 to $7,500 range. Now, it's a huge range, but that depends on the university and the quality of the accommodation. What does the meal cost? Well, the average restaurant meal is anything from $10 to $25, which I think is very reasonable given what it costs in OECD countries, and even and places like Japan, where you can easily pay $150. Movies are $11. Groceries are maybe not more than $200 a month if you're eating well. Utilities and sundry, about $300 a month. So in fact, combined, you're looking at about $10,000 a year. So all in all, Canada is a great experience. It's a country, by the way, that is colder than what you're used to, but it has so much available in terms of sports, in terms of the environment, in terms of places to visit, in terms of the discovery that you will do. And Canadians are very warm people despite living in a cold climate. Skiing is a national sport. Sledge skiing is also important because imagine you're in your accommodation or you're in your dormitory, wherever you come out and there's about 20 feet of snow that you have to get through. But these people are very well organized, and hats off to them in the way that they manage all kinds of seasons. And having 20 feet or 40 feet of snow, 20 feet of snow, I shouldn't exaggerate, is not an easy thing to contend with. In terms of the experience at universities, everything that you would want to do in terms of clubs, societies, and the experience of the education system, the openness, the infrastructure are all there for you. So Canada beckons, and I hope you found this webinar interesting. If you did, do let us know. In the meantime, we have a few more questions which I can cover as we have a few more minutes. I have a question on the mechanical engineering. Is it on the skills shortage list? Yes, it is. So if you are a mechanical engineer, you can go and upgrade your skills by doing a one-year program on maybe automotive, on a diploma in automotive, for example, and that will help you find a job as well and be able to help you with making a career for yourself. The other question again about skills shortages is about financial investment analysts. Huge demand, Abhishek, and banking is also in huge demand. In fact, you can go to the website. I'll just get the website for you where you can look at these skills shortage areas. And the other thing you can do is to come into our offices and meet the counselors there. It's all on the CIC website. Same with PhD in bioinformatics. All universities welcome eligible students who want to do research, and bioinformatics is a very, very good subject. In fact, you can look at related subjects as well. Apart from bioinformatics, biotechnology, and biomedical sciences. So broaden the range from just bioinformatics, and immense career prospects for you as well. Question on is my spouse eligible? Yes, we've already covered that, and yes, they are indeed. They can work full-time for 40 hours, but they have to apply for a work permit, which is not a difficult thing to do. Canadian universities are in huge demand, and international students across the world are applying. They can be a little bit slow in responding. If it's been 4 months, I suggest you, if you've applied through us, we can certainly contact them again. Do let me know. Otherwise, if you've applied directly, there's no harm in writing to the admissions team and asking for an answer that you haven't received anything. Although 4 months is a fairly long time, you should have heard an answer by now. I've got a question here that I recently got a 7.5 band. Scholarships are not based on IELTS, so therefore you cannot apply for a scholarship in Canada because you've got a 7.5. Sorry. What is the scope of electrical engineering PG diploma course in Canada? Electrical engineering again is on the skills shortage list, and you will find a lot of job opportunities in that area. And if you can maybe combine your engineering along with some management, that will also help you. Project management is a good subject to study. Okay, what are the top universities in Canada for MBA? Well, most universities have an MBA. McMaster, for example, has a very good MBA program. McGill has a very good MBA program. you have to look at the individual, because I don't know your work experience, Gaurav, so I'm not able to answer your question fully. Yeah, so a lot of universities, Toronto and so on, but each one has a different work experience requirement. So once we know that, we can help you with that as well. We have a question which I'm going to ask Monica to look at. It says, can you speak about scope for advertising in Canada?
Okay, hi, Monica this side. There's a question regarding advertising. Advertising, again, it's a very creative stream and it is highly in demand in Canada. You can go for advertising account management or just simple advertising communication. There are a number of options available. So I would really request you to come down to our office so that we can sit down and discuss about your profile and the right course among the advertising, the courses which are available, and then we can go about it, I guess. Yeah.
On, sorry. Do they have an advanced course for data security analyst? I don't know whether you're talking about undergrad or postgrad, but yes, they have data security courses and excellent programs in that area. It's also one of the specialized areas for Canada, including cybersecurity. So do look at these programs, because anywhere where you have advanced technologies, data security and cybersecurity are huge areas with potential for great careers. The question is, will Chopras be able to help me with accommodation off campus? What do you think, Monica?
Yeah, hi. Off-campus accommodation we can arrange, but there are few universities who have tie-ups with, home arrangements and everything. If the university or a college is having that kind of tie-ups, definitely we can help you out. But apart from that, we will not be able to help you out, because then again, there's a whole contract that needs to be signed, and the other things comes into consideration. And obviously, if you're going to Canada and when you don't have any relatives over there or any person known, we would always recommend you to take minimum duration of university or college accommodation, and then you can go for your separate accommodations. That is a smart plan to do. Okay.
Okay. The question here is about, are these pays for freshers or with work experience? The salaries that we've quoted, a lot of them, as I said, these are average. Some of them will be for freshers and some will be work experience. We have not differentiated at the moment. These are given by the Canadian government, and even if you have 1 year work experience, it's not very much. These will pretty much cover that range. Now, it says here, do universities in Canada accept masters from India for PhD programs? It depends how much research you've done, and the work experience that you have, and maybe if you've published some papers. So it would depend on your profile. In some cases they can, and in some cases they may be more choosy, depending on the university that you're applying for. Is there any age limit for the admission? I have a 3-year gap. Canada does allow a gap as long as you can explain it, and if you've been working in between your degrees, that's also quite acceptable. So yes, you should be able to apply. We don't see a problem with that. Now, I have an interesting question. What is the weather like in Canada? Well, Canada is a very large landmass, but it is colder than what you're used to. Now, before I go on about the weather, one thing I would like to say is that whatever the weather is outside, it's always warm inside. So they have central heating system, and it's actually very, very comfortable. If it's absolute winter, yes, it can be quite cold, but we all wear clothes which are equipped for that weather, so one doesn't really feel that bad. It's just a premonition. I don't think the weather should ever be a parameter for going or not going to a country. Now, if you want to swim all the time, yes, that may not be feasible. Or you want to go deep sea diving, maybe that may not be feasible. Although you can wear those blubber suits, your wetsuits. But otherwise, in winter, obviously the days get shorter, and the temperatures do drop. You know, they are in the minuses. And in the spring, you've got about 8 degrees. In the summers, you can actually go up to about 30 degrees. So you have actually real weather and all the seasons. So if you want to enjoy all the seasons, this is the perfect place to go to. Well, thank you everyone for listening and all the questions you've sent. We hope we've been able to answer them to your satisfaction. And I'm now going to pass on to Ms. Rhian Thomas.
Thank you for joining today's webinar. We hope that you found it useful. Thanks particularly to those who contributed with their questions. This helps make the webinar more interactive and is also a very important part of the learning process. We are conscious that some of you may not have received answers to your questions this afternoon. Please rest assured that you will get a response by email. Today's event is part of the Chopra's 2014 series of webinars. Several more interesting webinars will take place over the coming months on a variety of interesting topics by experts in their respective fields, and we would encourage all of you to join in and listen again. All of our webinars will be advertised on our website, www.chopras.com, so please keep checking for further details. Thanks to you all once again. We look forward to connecting with you soon.